As Philip and the eunuch traveled along the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, "Look, here's water. Why shouldn't I be baptized?" And he gave orders to stop the chariot. Then both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water, and Philip baptized him. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again, but went on his way rejoicing.
You know, every time I hear that, I think about my first confirmation class that I ever taught.
Okay, remind me of it.
All right, so we were at St. John's Lutheran Church in Moyers, West Virginia, and we gathered with all these students, and of course it was the first class, so we talked about baptism, right? Our beginning journey of our faith. And while we gathered around, so one of the students looked at me and said, "Pastor Wendy, do you have to be baptized in a church?" And I thought about it and I said, you have to be baptized in the faith community with the people of God.
Which is the church.
Right, it is. And he said, "But no, I want to know, do you have to be baptized in a church building?" And I said, "Well, Jesus wasn't baptized in a church building. We see here today that Philip didn't baptize. Philip baptized in the river with this eunuch." And the boy looked at me and he says, "Well, that's what I want." He says, "I want to be baptized in the river." And I said, "You haven't been baptized? You're in confirmation." And he said, "Nope, and I want to be baptized in the river."
But that's what's funny is, remember, we then gathered, I think it was like a week or two later, right there in Franklin, West Virginia, and you had a whole confirmation class that walked from Faith Lutheran Church right down to the bottom where the river was running, and right there in the middle of Franklin, he was baptized.
It was beautiful. And it was talked about for months that the Lutherans were down at the river.
It was talked about because the Lutherans became the talk of the town. But that's all beside the point. You know, there's something to be said about the fact of following where God is calling us. Because had Philip not been listening to what God was doing, he would have never went to the eunuch, would have never proclaimed that good news, and the eunuch would have never possibly received the gift of baptism in that moment, as was for you in your first confirmation class. Had you not been listening, talking about baptism and the power that God brings to us as children of God in that gift, we would have probably went on through months of confirmation without realizing that that young man had never received that gift.
Yeah, and I think it's powerful too, because sometimes we get stuck. We think that God only is present at the church and in our faith, and we forget that the Spirit is calling us into this world to share that gift and that love with so many others. And it's a beautiful gift that we have. And so as we talk about getting on the road again, where is that Spirit leading us? Where are we being called to share this gift of love and life with the world?
Well, and that's why we invite you to gather with us at All Shepherds Lutheran Church this weekend, so we can talk about where God is present in our midst, so as we're sent forth into the world, called into our daily lives, we can see where God is right there present before us. So worship with us this weekend at All Shepherds Lutheran Church as we continue on that road to see where God is calling us and God is present in our midst.
Amen.